So, hello and welcome to season 9 of the Mundane to Magical Online Summit series. My name is Louise Matson, and as always, I am truly blessed to be your host. Today, I'm really excited to welcome a brand new speaker to the summit, the wonderful Shawna O'Meara. I was blessed to connect with Shawna and her work through one of the audience members of this summit, and as always, when I'm guided to follow these divinely inspired connections, I act upon the guidance. For those of you who haven't come across Shawna and her work, Shawna is a medical intuitive who sees beyond the physical to the root cause of your disease. Shawna assists people in discovering and resolving the underlying belief systems that are keeping them from moving forward in their lives emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Healing runs in Shawna's blood, as she comes from 3 generations of osteopaths. And so Shawna knew intuitively from childhood that Western medicine was missing some really key elements towards healing. She sensed that it was the subconscious emotional belief systems keeping us from our natural healing processes. And being an intuitive and an empath her entire life, she was eventually guided to ThetaHealing, which addresses the subconscious emotional belief systems so crucial to natural healing. Shawna's heart's passion is teaching and sharing the tools to heal and grow emotionally, physically, and spiritually with others. And she's been practicing and teaching Theta Healing since 2006 and 2008, respectively. Shawna is based in California, where she also offers a variety of hands-on therapies to clients. Her profound medical intuitive skills using Theta Healing, Reiki, and the aroma touch techniques have greatly enhanced her clients in releasing blocks through energetic touch and nurturing that we all so deeply need and deserve. Now, the topic of our conversation today is healing. It's all in the heart. And we shall be exploring what disease is and how we can heal, and that all the healing is done through the heart. And if we are ready to shift from our current perspective and energetic blueprint, we truly can. So let's get started. And it's my absolute pleasure and honor to welcome you on this pre-recorded interview to the show, Shawna.
Good morning, and thank you so much for taking the time to reach out to me to share.
No, I love bringing new people to the show. It's really exciting for me, and I love it when I'm guided to connect with people that I haven't connected with yet. So, and one of the things that I said to you when we first spoke was that I really wanted a medical intuitive on, and ta-da!
Ask and you shall receive.
Exactly. So in your biography, it says obviously that you're an empath and sensitive your entire life. But can you share with the audience who may not be familiar with your work a little bit about your journey to becoming the medical intuitive that you are today?
Wow, that's a deep one. So I will bring it down to the best of my ability. Um, I was born like a good portion of us into a family that was wrought with tragedy and chaos
Mm.
on many medical levels. Um, my mother lost a child at 3 years old to leukemia. I had an older brother who was 6 years older than I was, and then I came along and at 2 years of age, I brought on, created, or however we want to put it, type 1 diabetes.
Mm.
At that point in time, back in the 60s, the only thing that was known was that I would have the potential or most likely would grow up with kidney disease, going blind, amputations, all of these things.
Mm.
Father doctor, mother nurse, the tragedy of losing a child. So they were unable to connect with me for fear of loss.
Mm.
It was always based through fear. So as time went on, the little rebel in me, which I know I was born with through spirit, creator, universe, however we want to put it, said, I am not going to be one of your statistics. I flat out am not. So later in life, my mother had a series of illnesses, injuries, and then later pushed her into taking her own life when I was 14.
Mm.
Later, as I'm going through all of the things, right about the age of 40, I was drawn to go to a healing seminar in Sedona. And it was one of those things when the universe calls and basically grabs you by the back of the head and says, "You're going there." I couldn't tell anybody why, but I knew I had to go.
Yeah.
And that's where I got introduced to the Theta Healing. For years before that, I'd go down the street and I could hear all the pain
Mm.
almost intuitively of people walking down the street, and I thought that I was crazy. I had no one to
Yeah.
refer to because I was not part of the intuitive realm at that point. Everything was left brain,
Mhm.
logic, medicine, go through it. It's like, okay, something. So then I get sent to this seminar. And previously, my intro to opening this was in my 20s, I got scratched in the eye and started creating ulcers that the doctors could not figure out what was going on.
Mm.
I'd had laser surgery in the back of my eyes because of the diabetes. And then I was gifted this amazing surgeon who said, "No, this is nothing to do with diabetes or anything. You
Mm.
just got unlucky." So I got a corneal transplant. 6 weeks later, the ulcers came back on the new transplant. The little tiny micro stitches that held the transplant in started popping out.
Wow.
It was terrifying,
Mhm.
to put it mildly. I got referred to an intuitive healer, and she did energy work and other things, my first intro, really. And she put her hands on me and said, "Oh, you're carrying the big A in your eye." And I'm thinking, "A? What is she talking about?" She goes, "Anger.
Mm.
You are angry at your former husband for not being more careful with you. Would you like to let that go?" And I'm like, "Yes." And all of a sudden, I feel this cold energy flowing down the left hand side of my body. Within a week, 10 days, the ulcers went away and the eyes started healing.
Mm.
I went back to my ophthalmologist who'd done the surgery. He goes, "I don't know what you did, but keep doing it. I've never seen anything like this." And so that spurred me to know that emotions,
Mm.
that was again, the universe, God, source, creator said, emotions carry such a huge weight in creating dis-ease within the body.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then later I was sent to Sedona. Thank you, creator. And it really took me into exploring the theta healing. And of course, I've studied many other modalities.
Mm.
All of them come back to creating through source that when we carry dis-ease of emotion, trauma, which our bodies hold cellularly because they don't understand linear time, until that is resolved, the body will keep creating flags saying, "Hey, something is out of balance.
Mm.
Something is out of balance." Our bodies do 1 million processes per minute, which means we have 1 million opportunities every minute to shift, heal, and grow.
Mm.
So, through the theta healing work, which was really lovely for me, I got my master's and certificate of science in teaching.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, my true intuitive skills really popped out.
Mm.
And so now, which still sounds strange, I get like 6 picture screens in front of me when I'm talking with people
Mm.
to show the emotion, the time when it first started,
Mm.
because it always seems to come as blocks.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've witnessed instantaneous healings on broken bones and all sorts of things, which still to this day, I know that it is source that does the work.
Mm.
When I sit in my heart with that energy and work with the individual, it's always source that's doing the work.
Yeah.
When we are in that heart space,
Mm.
there is nothing stronger.
Mm.
And it probably took me a good 6 years of practice to learn to love myself
Mm.
and to be gentle and kind. So that's still a daily practice.
Mm.
I'm still as human going through the experience every day. And we've never been in a time where there's more transformative energies coming in than any other time in history.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, it's been crazy strong, the energies. But again, however we are experiencing the energies, I'm always really thankful. And that's what one of the things that I love that you've just said about your experiences is, in a way, you were gifted the eye issue through, a scratch in the eye. And that brought you to this point where you can actually heal the anger that was being held in that area. And
Yes.
so, however we're experiencing, I mean, I currently am experiencing severe anemia and everything that goes with that. But I'm now working on the physical body. I've been working through all the different kind of layers, if you like. And so I've been gifted this opportunity to now go into the layers that are within the physical
Yeah.
that get to be cleared. And for me, it's really shifting our perspective on how we see disease.
Yes. Yes. It's at this point to be, what's the wording I want to use? There are multiple layers for
Mm.
all of us. Um, our human bodies were born to heal themselves. We have so many outside influences through chemicals, processed foods, etc. They get in the way and stop it.
Mm.
And just strictly my perspective, I'm pretty sure that this was not an accident.
Mm.
So, sorting those things out, when these things have first started to occur, I've got some clients with cancer, and one I've been working with probably 4 years.
Mm.
And one of the things that many of us get very mm, impatient, shall we say, about is that we all want whatever it is that we're going through to heal right now.
Yeah.
Want a magic, quick something. Well, it didn't just happen overnight.
Mm.
It's been there for a while. And as I'm watching the layers for this amazing woman, she's learning so much more about herself,
Mm.
her family. She, like me, which many of us in this collective of um, workers, I'll just put it that way. Um, if it were to happen overnight, just like with all of the things that I've experienced, I would not have learned about myself,
Mm. Yeah.
needing that motivation. Now, when we go through those, we get so much more insight.
Mm.
And every single individual on this planet, whether they realize it or not, like I tell people when I'm teaching classes, you are unique.
Mm.
You are here for a reason. And your gift and your reason for being here is individual and unique.
Mm.
We share many similar things.
Mm.
And if it weren't for all the different avenues of gifts for each individual, I mean, there's 8 billion people on the planet. Each one of us came here to assist different groups and different people.
Mm.
Um, as it came out, when my brother passed, and I went back to spread his ashes and said, we were supposed to do this together.
Mm.
And clear as day, I felt his hand on my shoulder and he said, no, you were the one. You were always the one.
Mm.
So I was like, oh, the one what? Ah, to heal the family line.
Mm.
And when we heal ourselves, we heal all of those connected with us, forward and backwards, because our cells and genetics all talk and
Yeah.
they can be shifted and changed.
Mm. That's one of the aspects that I really love about working with source, with spirit, whatever people want to call it, and doing this kind of work, this kind of healing, and completely surrendering. I call myself a conduit for the healing because it's not me. I'm not the healer. But completely surrendering to trust that whatever is coming up in a session, whatever work is being done, is absolutely perfect for that person in that moment. And it's, yeah, that's one of the things that I love, that when whatever you do, whatever you're healing, because we are all connected. It's like they're showing me now, the kind of the beneath the earth, everything is connected, the kind of web of life through the fungus that connects the trees and everything. And I was gifted to actually see it energetically at one point, and it's just absolutely beautiful and amazing. We are all connected, not just individually to each of the humans, but to all the plants, to all the creatures, to everything. That it goes forwards and backwards through time, because time isn't actually linear. Time is now. All healing, the work is now, but it affects all time. And that to me is just one of those magical aspects of this work.
Oh, yeah. And as time goes forward, and as we're all being shown more and more truth, as difficult as it may be to witness, when we sit in our heart and go, okay, one of the perspectives I've acquired, um, anything that has been created can be discreated.
Mm,
I've discreated burns and cuts and everything on my hand by putting something over it and going, okay, and it's gone.
mm,
So the limits that most of us been put in a box of thinking we are limited. Yet one of the things that keeps showing up, that was, and I'll say supposedly just because I wasn't there,
mm,
was one of the things that Jesus had said was, you can do all this and more.
mm,
And I've witnessed that myself and going, the limits are we have been indoctrinated for millennia to
mm.
be limited. And fear is the biggest one they use these days.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I also find, we limit ourselves in the language that we use. How are we speaking to ourselves? How are we speaking to our body? How are we speaking about ourselves? I had a client once who, the very first words that came out of her mouth, she didn't even give me her name, was, I've got 6 months to live. It's like, wow, you are so strongly identified with that you're manifesting that reality. If you kind of own the name of the disease, it becomes your identity, and you become so strongly attached to it that there's this bond in maintaining it in some way. It's like the work that you do, and I love the fact that you kind of see it in these multiple layers, and kind of pull it apart in terms of getting to the root cause of it and taking away all of these masking aspects of disease that kind of go, oh, actually it's through this, and if we can kind of just scrap, or disconnect from all of the limiting language, the limiting belief constructs, that Western society, because I don't really know Eastern medicine well enough to say that, attaches to dis-ease, then
Uh-huh.
we could heal. We could let go of the need to have this.
Yes. And each one of us holds that. Every single individual ourselves holds the key to
Mm,
that. And one of the biggest things that occurs, and I'm grateful for the training is, and I ask clients, so once this is resolved and healed, what are you going to do next
mm,
that you're not doing now? Because so many of us, and this was self included for a long time, and occasionally it creeps in, and I have to bat it back in the corner. It's like this naughty monkey, that monkey mind, handed it a banana and say, "Go sit in time out with your banana. I
mm,
don't have time for you." But What are you going to do after this is resolved
Mm.
that you're not doing now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because most people have been, again, we've been programmed, indoctrinated from start to finish that once you've been given a label,
Mhm.
or in the States, it's called a DX code, um, that is your identity.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, let's erase that.
Mm.
How can you be loving and supportive of yourself?
Mm.
Last year, I went for an advanced training at the Theta Institute, and the very first day, Diana Steibel, who through Creator brought this modality out, the first question, first day, first hour of class, she said, okay, how many of you, we know that you're all working on your virtues and you think you've accomplished many of them or mastered them, which is always what we're working towards,
Mm.
our part of our soul journey. How many of you think you've mastered kindness? You think you're kind to the neighbors, you're kind to clients, you're kind to animals. She goes, but how many times do you catch yourself using negative thought forms on yourself,
Mm.
criticizing and judging yourself?
Mm. Yeah.
She goes, so if you find yourself doing that, you have not even come close to mastering kindness.
Mm.
It is abuse when you do that to yourself.
Mm.
You need to explore why,
Yeah.
where that comes from, and get busy.
Mm.
It's very direct about it. It's like, yeah, at least it was nice to go, okay, there are times I catch myself on that. And now I give myself a limit of how much time I'm allowed to be cranky or mean or whatever it may be,
Mm.
but to also honor the emotion and to look for where did this start?
Yeah.
Why is this program or this tape still running? What does it have to teach me? What is it I still have yet to learn?
I love whenever I'm in that kind of cycle, I love just saying to myself, when I catch myself, that's really interesting. That's
Yeah,
really interesting that I'm thinking that about myself, or I'm, directing this towards myself in, maybe a word, maybe a thought, maybe an emotion, because that kind of then opens things up and it kind of opens that space for you to explore rather than, kind of go into self-criticism, things like that. But so many people struggle with self love, self care, self fulfillment. And
yeah,
again, we've been indoctrinated to believe that that is selfish.
yes,
And it's crazy. I think it's crazy. But if we could kind of nail that in effect, again, coming back to if the work is to heal ourselves, the work is on ourselves, with ourselves, for ourselves. And in doing that, collectively, we heal those timelines going forwards and back.
absolutely. That's one of those things that one of the things that's different in this work that I have a deep, deep, deep appreciation that makes it different than any other that I've come across. And I've studied many modalities. I've acquired insights and skills that enhance that which I do.
Mhm.
I'm also a very hardcore left brain. I want to get down to the very bottom of
Mm.
where that originated. Um, so there's that hardcore researcher in me, yet there's also the part that goes, okay, where did that come from?
Mm.
And one of the things in this work, at least in the Theta Healing, which is why I love teaching it so much, is most of us are brought up with conditional love.
Mm.
As long as you do this, I will love you. As
Yeah.
soon as you do that, I don't love you anymore.
Mm.
So as a child, we're all in a theta state when we come into about the age of 5 or 6. We know truth.
Mm.
Mom says this is black and that's white, even though we know that's the exact opposite of what it is.
Mm.
We take on those belief systems because our parents or those people are the ones who are supposed to ensure our survival and make sure that we have shelter and food and everything else.
Mm.
So we take that on as a truth, even though it may not be.
Yeah.
And as we are on the planet longer and we become much more aware of things, go, wait a minute, that's not true.
Mm.
So, in those times, learning or having what we call downloads, which is the pure knowing
Mm.
from source, creator, however you want to put it, that you have the understanding, definition, perspective, and knowing of what it feels like, and
Mm.
that you're worthy and deserving of unconditional love,
Mm.
just as you are.
Yeah.
And there's probably 40 or 50, I mean, we have in an advanced class over 1,000 of those downloads
Mm.
with kindness, with gentleness, with what it feels like to be nurtured, to be cherished, how
Mm.
to live without or free of pain, criticism, being put down, judge. So it's once we go through that, oh, we get the pure knowing from as opposed to the intellectual, oh, I know what love is. Well, do you really?
Yeah.
It shifts everything and it opens us up and we can acknowledge, recognize, and it's just amazing to me. And I get amazed every single day.
Yeah, absolutely. I do feel very strongly. I mean, in my own personal experience with myself and my journey, but also in working with other people as well. There is this point of readiness and this um I mean, spirit shows me in so many ways and tells me everything is perfect and in perfect timing, but there is this point of readiness to be able to heal. It's like I've held on to stuff for such a long time, and for whatever reason, whether it's external indoctrination about this is the way it is, this is the way life is, and da da da, or just my own kind of fear of letting that go and what will I be without it.
Uh-huh.
um but there comes that point where it's like, oh, okay, now I'm ready to actually do the work. And if any healing had been attempted in between, you may have experienced some benefit, but it would never really have landed. But it's at that point of readiness that I feel the miracles can happen, in that you really can let things go, because and everything is a journey leading up to that point. But I do believe that the readiness factor is a key component of being able to heal. And I loved, when we were talking about the title, you were saying healing, it's all in the heart. I believe that that readiness factor and the heart are intrinsically linked, directly linked. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
Absolutely. It's like I said, I have the one client I've been working with the cancer for a while. And one of the things that we're taught and I've learned, and this would be true for you and true for me through the things that we're working on healing and doing. Um, if we'd gotten an instantaneous healing from something,
Mm.
we would have missed many experiences that our soul and our being needed to experience to grow.
Yeah.
And so it may not happen overnight, and sometimes it does.
Mm.
I've watched many healings, many things occur almost instantaneously.
Mm.
And then some of the bigger ones, well, there's a lot there to learn from. And one of the questions is, how does it serve you to hold on to it?
Mm.
What's the worst thing that might happen if you let it go?
Yeah.
And then we explore and clear those things.
Mm.
And I have to look at self with that a lot. It's like, okay, you're hanging on to this, you're doing this thing. Why?
Yeah.
What's the benefit? How is it keeping you safe?
Yeah.
How is it making you feel that you'll be protected?
Mm.
It's like judgment. Most people don't realize that judgment, in whatever form, whether it's against another person or circumstance, when we have judgment, it creates space,
Mm.
distance. And somehow we're using that to protect ourselves from something.
Mm.
We may not consciously know what it is, but in some form, um, oh my goodness. And when we figure it out, then it's like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe," but it's like, "Yeah, but I did, and look what I've learned.
Mm.
Look what I've learned."
Yeah, I mean, I can, again, I'm coming back to different points in my life, and I was in quite an abusive relationship, um, a very abusive relationship, and there was a point when my son was born that I was ready to, and I basically said, right, just go, and and then immediately it was as if I would wanted to rewind those words and just suck them back in, because my fear was blocking me from being able to take that step. My fear of being a single parent, my fear of, the security, how would I cope, and all of this. It completely stopped it. And then it took, I can't remember how many years after that it took, but then I was nudged down the stairs and I became paralyzed for a week. And that was kind of the universe kind of going, okay, it's time now for you to kind of go there and let this go. And it was because of that instant, that experience of a very physical, for me, it seems to have to get to the very physical. Um, it it just was like, do you know what? I'm not afraid of what's on the other side of leaving this relationship or stepping out of whatever is making me miserable in my life. Because actually I don't want to be in this situation anymore, this extreme illness. And so, for me, all physical symptom, illness, disease, whatever people want to call it, is basically our entire energetic body saying, okay, are you ready? You are ready to kind of clear this, and giving us that inroad, that red flag. Okay, this symptom is coming up. What does that mean to me? But it's like the universe giving us that nudge. Is a major factor to the healing journey. But that, for me, I was in a period of isolation because obviously I couldn't move my neck. I went into my heart. It gave me that space. It gave me that space to step away from the job, step away from everything that I'd been busying myself with, to not face what was really going on for me, to then drop into my heart and really look, radically, honestly look at everything, and to just clear that closet out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've had many dark nights of the soul through this work. Many.
Mm,
And some have been, very paralyzing on many levels that I didn't realize.
mm,
Now, when I say huge transformational times, I'm getting ready to do a new website. My office space just exploded and not exactly sure where I'm landing. And the fear and all of these things was just huge. Of course, on the eclipse and new moon. And I was very fortunate. My partner came up and said, "You need to do that website.
mm,
Here's the money. Just go. Jump off the cliff. Just do it."
mm,
And I'm like, "Okay." And 2 days later, the gal that I've, shared space with said, "This is what's going on, and, whether we're staying there or going somewhere else, it doesn't matter.
mm,
Um, you're always welcome to come with me because there's always space for you."
mm.
It's like, "Okay, okay." When you give it over, and I sat there for a day and a half in tears and in grief and feeling like, part of me's dying.
Mm.
I have nowhere to land. I don't know. I mean, it was very, very, it was a grieving process of letting go. And it's like, okay, God, source, universe, all that is. I have faith and I have trust in you.
Mm.
And then when I got the phone call about the office space and everything else, it was like, here's the deal. Universe always has your back. Always.
That is a really important element, I think, and that to me is this kind of healing through the heart. Because when we're in the heart space, we're dropped out of the head, we've dropped out of the monkey mind, we've dropped out of the belief systems and everything that we've been taught, and we've dropped into that inner knowing. We've dropped
Yes.
into that deep connection with the all that is, the all that we are, source, God, whatever you want to call it. And it is being able, when you're sat in that space, to surrender into the trust and faith that your universal self, whatever you want to call it, has your back. And that gives you that strength, that courage, because it does take courage. And I do believe it takes an awful lot of courage to go on the healing journey, especially to let go of, identifying with certain illnesses, names, labels, diseases.
Circumstances,
Yeah,
having this space, doing this, and it's like, okay.
yeah.
Um, Yet it's coming in with so many things shifting, so
Mm,
much energy shifting. Um, me like saying soon to be saying goodbye to my old website, be working with this gentleman who's just amazing. And it was divinely, he was brought to me when I asked the universe, bring me the person that's going to work best, work with and through me
mm,
to set me up there in a simple, loving place.
mm,
Because I wanted to redo a website that was Gardener for your heart and soul.
mm,
He said, no, take your name. That is your strength because that's who you are.
mm,
I said, okay, okay. So I can be the gardener for the heart and soul for anyone who's ready.
mm,
And that will be coming. And when I was out on a walk a few years ago, I'd mentioned this to you before. They were talking about taglines for business and all of this. I'm like going, what? I was getting really cranky pants and what do you mean I have to have this? And it's like, oh, well, as I'm walking, I heard very clearly in my head, reclaim your PB&J. What? It's like, reclaim your peace, balance, and joy.
mm.
So it's like, okay, that's the tagline.
Yeah.
In America, PB&J is peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, which for many kids is like it's a good, and it was just like the energy of it. The universe was saying, you want the playful child energy behind that,
Yeah.
and the soul knowing that your peace, balance, and joy can be yours.
Yeah.
Ask for it. When we ask,
Mm,
when we really go to that place and go, please bring me my peace, balance, and joy, our whole energetic body shifts immediately,
mm,
just like laughter. Laughter is the best medicine because, on a physiological aspect, most of us run in what's known as the sympathetic nervous response, which is fight or flight.
yeah.
So our adrenaline's running, our blood pressure goes up, our ability to, it shuts off the blood supply to our digestive system,
Mm,
and gets our adrenals going.
mm,
So we're ready. Most of us have been indoctrinated with that
yeah.
so much, which is why so many people are having physical challenges,
Mm,
why they aren't digesting food well.
mm,
They're malnourished because their bodies can't absorb. They can't do the things they're meant to do. So
mm,
when we go into laughter, even if it's for 3 minutes, you
mm,
watch something funny or you think of something funny, you start laughing, the body goes into parasympathetic, which is the energy in the bodies and the chemistry that allows our bodies to heal.
mm,
So when you think, if you just take a couple minutes when you're having one of those days and watch or think of something funny and you go into laughter, you've just done an amazing healing
yeah.
opportunity for your body. The whole chemistry changes.
Mm,
So for anyone to think that they aren't tremendously amazing and powerful, if you just start laughing a bit more,
yeah.
find things, find anything, you can shift the whole healing chemistry of your body.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know, we have been going through some extreme times. I mean, the fact that it's been there up in our faces over the last few
Yes.
years, in terms of the amount of fear that's been kind of laid on us, and the amount of indoctrination and control and manipulation that we've been subjected to, but I personally believe has been underlying, and it's now just been brought up into the open, and anything that's been brought up into the open for me is ready to heal. It's a bit
Yes.
like, a boil. If it really comes up, you get to lance it, and it's gone.
Yes. And then you let all of that out, and then you have the opportunity to nurture its healing.
Exactly.
Nurture
Yeah.
with tenderness, with love.
Yeah.
Bodies are so amazing. They're an amazing vehicle. I
Mm.
mean, I've been on both sides. I've been here and I've had 4 or 5 opportunities to pass over. And so I have no fear.
Yeah.
I've been there. I've seen that. I've done that. Okay.
Yeah.
Each one of us, and this may make people go, oh, but the majority of us go through, have the opportunity for death doors several times in our lives.
Yeah.
And it's always between our soul and source whether we want to go or whether we have more to do.
Mm.
Nobody else can make that choice for us.
Yeah.
How many times have we witnessed an accident where there's no way somebody could have survived and they just crawl out and they're absolutely fine?
Yeah.
I've witnessed that several times, different circumstances. That person should have never this, that, or the other.
Mm.
And I will encourage people if you have those. Um, there's a couple books that I always recommend to people who are having a rough time. And, one of them that's top of my list, I have 3 copies that I lend out. And sometimes they end up just being a gift. Um, Dying to Be Me by Anita Morjani.
Mm.
If you have doubts about things and what you're doing, that is an amazing book. And it's true. Um, Another one that's really lovely is Tosha Silver, who is delightful. She has outrageous openness and save me prayers. And sometimes I'm having a challenging day and I need a rewind or a reset, and I'll just grab that prayer book and I'll just open it.
Mm.
And there's humor and there's a little bit of quirkiness, and it just shifts the perspective.
Yeah.
So there's so many different things out there, and at different times as we are on our path and our healing and our wake up and step into
Mm.
part of things, we need different things at different times.
Absolutely. And again, it is about shifting our focus, because over the last few years, my perception of what's been going on has impacted, affected me in a particular way, so that my navigation of the energies, my navigation of the occurrences and the situations that we've all experienced and been a part of, has been completely different to, say, somebody else who's been completely, blinkered into the narrative that's been coming through the television, or through their family and friends and things like that. And it really is, I mean, for me, I learned this a long time ago, and through being paralyzed, shifting your position, shifting your perspective on what it is that's happening, whether it's arthritis, whether it's anemia for me at the minute, whatever it is, and not connecting with the name and everything that goes with that name, and the assumptions therefore on your life expectancy, on your health expectancy, and just going, okay, my body is red flagging me at the minute with this, and therefore what's at the bottom, what's underneath it, what zooming out, bigger picture, what is the universe trying to tell me, what am I trying to tell me? And kind of taking those journeys into that, it becomes a joyful experience through what previously would have been very challenging, very depressing, very whatever.
Yeah, a year ago last November, I was going out on my walk with my friend, and somebody from a different dimension, I will say, or reality, drove up behind me on a bicycle and hit me at about 25 miles an hour and sent me flying. I broke my arm and I didn't know it was broken.
Mm.
Um, Went home and it turned black and blue completely. And within 2 days, my husband says, "Your arm's broken. You need to go to the doctor." I'm like, "No, no, no, it's just traumatized, blah, blah, blah." Wow. He insisted. We went. And it was one of those places where I had been so stubborn in doing everything for myself.
Mm.
I couldn't take a shower. I couldn't wash myself.
Mm.
I couldn't dry. And I kept trying to do things one-handed, after I went. And my husband says, "Excuse me, I can do that." I said, but I can't." It was fun trying to mop the floor with one hand. It does not work. I couldn't dry my toes, so he would say, "Put your toes up here. We're doing this. We're washing your hair today." And I had to surrender.
Mhm.
So it was a big lesson.
Yeah.
It was a big lesson. And many times it said his left side is receiving
Mm.
and the feminine. I had gotten so oriented to doing everything myself and always doing for others that allowing to be taken care of and receive myself was it was quite the lesson, but I got it.
There is so much juice, isn't there? There's so much juice in what people would consider disease, difficult circumstances, situations, whatever's coming up in our lives. There is so much when you kind of literally just peel back the top layer
Yeah.
of assumption about what this is and just stopping there as to what lies beneath, what lies behind it all. And again, dropping into the heart, dropping into that unconditionally loving space to be able to explore that and to go there, and then to release whatever is deeply embedded within.
And one of the things that I've learned through the years, I can do quite a bit of work on myself. Yet, when it comes to those deeply buried belief systems
Mm.
that were created by the ego, and this is one of those things that it's really important that people understand.
Mm.
The belief systems were created to ensure our safety, okay? They were not created to cause harm or any of those things.
Mm.
So some of the deeply enmeshed ones, we ourselves cannot get to
Yeah.
because our mind will switch us somewhere else because it's like, "Oh no, I'm hanging on to that because it's kept me safe and you can't have it."
Yeah.
So I have a network of people of different modalities, different gifts that I work with, say, "Hey, I need some help. This
Mm.
is what I'm going through."
Yeah.
And their perspectives, their heart, and that's the one thing that I've really put out this year. It's like,
Mm.
"All right, universe, please bring me the people who are in their hearts
Mm.
because heart and love is going to be the currency of the future." And when we're in that place, we stay neutral
Mm.
to the rest of the things going on. Looking at world circumstances and all of the shows they're putting on for this, that, and the other, it just brings me back to, wow, I may not be particularly pleased or supportive about what you're doing,
Mm.
the effects it's having on so many, yet I also ask that the universe will give you a place to go in your heart so you know what it feels like to be loved.
Mm.
Because most people, when any of us act out, it's because we've lost our connection
Yeah.
and we're trying to fill a
Mm.
void.
Mm.
And by power or money or something, it's not going to fill that void.
No. No.
When we get to that place where we can love ourselves and we go into that place of knowing, then we're able to sort of like, and not create more circumstances to have to prove it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the spirit's just showing me it's a bit like eating sugar. You know, it's not going to give you the energy. It's not going to fill that void. It's just kind of putting a plaster over it, and you've still got that emptiness. You've still got that hole that gets to be filled. And a lot of us eat to give ourselves the love that we've been craving, because from childhood we've been taught, either eat to suppress your emotions, or eating food is a form of love. And then of course, that in itself can generate lots of kind of physical red flags and things as well, but it's hollow. It's dropping into the heart and actually connecting and receiving that unconditionally loving energy vibration, that download of what we're actually craving, rather than seeking something that's just not going to cut it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's, one of those things for any of us. And all of us have some sort of addiction or this, that, or the other. And we're human.
Mm.
So, what is it that we're looking to fulfill? And many times it's the chemicals or chemistry to create the serotonin,
Mm.
noradrenaline, all of those different brain chemistry chemicals that make us feel oxytocin, that make us feel satisfied and loved, and all of those things.
Mm.
Our bodies will ask for those things. But if we're eating a bunch of things that, oh, I've got to get that, a lot of times we miss the mark.
Mm.
When we think about our bodies are made, we're part of Earth on so many levels.
Mm.
Our bones are made of heavy metals, of calcium, magnesium, zinc. We have silver in our systems. We have gold in our system. We have just, we are part of the earth. We are.
Mm.
So finding those balancing places is really important.
Mm.
And that's why it can be, the emotional place can really, if we don't have proper balance,
Mm.
create even more of a unbalanced mental state for us, or emotional state.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then we create this interesting little chaotic thing that goes on. And there
Mm.
comes a point where we go, wait a minute, something's really off. Okay, what is it that I need?
Yeah.
What does my body need to feel nurtured? What does it truly need?
Mm.
And I will use my muscle testing with that, and I will laugh at self, because I'll go to the refrigerator going, I'm really craving this. I can taste things before I've eaten them.
Mm.
And I'll go, oh, I want that. It's like, body, do you want that? Body's like, no, I don't want that. It's like, I want this. It's
Mm.
like, but that, and sometimes I'll override my body and I'll pay the penalty of it still going, excuse me, I still want that.
And that's,
It's
I
part
mean,
of the
I love it,
human game.
because that I call that, like, I'm in my small human moment. It's like, yeah, it's like I've asked the questions, I've got the answer, but I really want that.
And we can, when we acknowledge that, one of the things about being kind to ourselves, like, okay, I've eaten the good things, I've eaten the things my body has craved. I can have a little bit of this as a reward.
Mm.
And I will know what it feels like to be sated with that, satisfied and fulfilled with that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
having those knowings can make a big, big difference. A
Mhm.
big difference.
So, I mean, one of the things that I wanted to touch on is your perspective about the current energies that are impacting us all, regardless of where we are, and impacting our health and well-being in many different ways at the moment. And do you have any tips on how people can manage? I mean, I know we've talked about laughter, and also kindness, and going into the heart space, but also for anybody out there who doesn't really understand what that actually looks like or what that means, do you have any kind of tips on how to navigate the current energies?
So, for any of us, one of the ways, regardless of what you believe in, when we close our eyes and we look up and say, okay, that automatically takes us into the theta state and
Mm.
connects us with source. Yes, it takes some practice and sometimes, but it's an automatic thing that occurs. When we're having one of those days or one of those moments, keeping in mind that at this point, for the past couple years, fear
Mm.
or control has been the primary projection
Yeah.
through media, through all of those things. When we are in fear, there's three things that keep us um, very controllable:
Mm.
fear, religion, and poverty.
Mm.
We're very the masses, many people are very controllable at that point.
Yeah.
So little things are put out, "Oh, if you do this, we'll give you this." And it's like, "Oh, I'll be okay."
Mm.
Takes us out of that fear place. Yet, if we go up and we just say, "Please disconnect me from all of the negative energies of mass consciousness. Thank you.
Mm.
Fill me with peace, balance, and love."
Mm.
I mean, what I just did, anybody can do.
Mm.
What happens is all of that outside gets disconnected, and we don't get into the fray of that energy that they're projecting so hard.
Mm.
And, it's like every other day, if it's like watching a show, there's creating something new.
Yeah.
It's drama, trauma, keep us in fear, keep us off balance, keep us out of our
Mm.
power, our
Yeah.
connection. When we are out of fear, we can stand in our truth once we start getting more and more trusting of that.
Mm.
Balances our body, balances our mind, overrides the monkey mind. We send that monkey into timeout with its banana. Go away. Um, and then we start feeling excited,
Mm.
kind of excited. I was tapped to listen to a couple of, now I'm going to forget it, a couple videos the other day, Wayne Dyer. And it was very odd to me because it's not someone I follow all that much, although I know he has fabulous wisdom. And one of the things that in listening to one of his talks that he said, and I found this just beautiful, was we live on a round planet. How can there be sides? And so I sat there and thought, you're right.
Mm.
I will spend time sitting and saying, okay, please take me up, expand that feeling of unconditional love
Mm.
around the whole planet to anyone and everyone who is open to receive.
Mm.
I walk into stores and do that.
Yeah.
I just fill it with that
Mm.
or joy. And I just sat and I watch as the whole energy of the store and the people shifts and changes.
Yeah.
Doesn't cost me anything but the thought and the intention for
Mm.
those who are open.
Absolutely. And because we are all connected, it has that ripple effect.
Yes,
It
it
has that
does.
ripple effect. And again, I say this to clients all the time. When we do the work within ourselves, just even being in those frequencies, even just being in our heart space when we go into those spaces that may be quite frenetic because they're filled with people who are connected to the fear and the control and the manipulation, because we're holding that frequency and we're grounding that frequency in that space, energetically that's working its way out. I mean, to do something with intention, like to say, right, I'm filling this space with unconditional love, that's an addition. But just holding that frequency within your own field of joy, of love, of freedom, whatever it is, again, you're vibrating that out. And I always come back to the Dr. Emoto, when he basically, you know either through writing on the jar itself or just by speaking to the water molecules, shifted their molecular. You could see it. It was shifting the molecular shape. And again, if you talked fear and anger and all of this to the water molecules, it shifted it into a very distorted form. You know, that's a visual representation of what you're literally doing, being in those frequencies, holding those frequencies, mastering those frequencies within you, and then just being in and of the world.
I followed him, and one of the things that I've done for people who work with water is I have a small, um, it had two ends that you screw bottles together with magnets,
Mm.
because water, as is said, always goes in a whirlpool. It's constantly moving, constantly full of this energy. When we pull it out of the taps, it's lost it. So I fill one bottle, screw this on, and I vortex the water with what you just said.
Mm.
I ask the universe to obligate this water to hold the frequency of love,
Mm.
of healing and renewal, and give me the ability to release anger and fear on a daily basis with pure love. Thank you. And I
Mm.
just feel the energy going. And I put it in a special carafe. My husband thought I was crazy, which is okay. I don't care. He calls me left turn. And I have this special carafe with it. And so I put it in, and so he goes, let me taste that
Mm.
first. And he drank, he goes, that's different. It's thicker. It's this. And so ever since then, he's going, I'm going to have the good water. I said, well, then you got to start vortexing, honey.
Yeah.
So yeah, it makes a huge difference. It really, really does.
Mm.
Um, I had a cat come in the backyard that I do some feral rescue and whatnot, and he needed to be neutered,
Mm.
but he kept having an issue with his leg, like he an infection or he'd fallen off a fence or done something,
Mm.
and it kept persisting. So I'm using all of these things that I know to do it. And then one of my friends said, why don't you give him the knowing that he can become a house kitty and stay without having to be injured?
Mm.
And I'd gone 2 weeks with antibiotics, with, colloidal silver, with all these different things. And the next day, the limping stopped.
Mm.
Limp is gone. He just needed to know that he could be there
Yeah. You
and be
didn't
part
have
of the
to.
family
Yeah.
without having to be injured. How many of us hold similar undercurrents in our belief systems?
Absolutely. Yeah. I really do believe it is really amazing when you get down to, even if, even if you don't do this by yourself, and if you need somebody to assist you through the process, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
Oh,
I have a number of people that I go to see when I've got to a certain point and it's like, okay, I've hit that wall and I can't shift beyond this. Like you say, it's too entrenched, it's too deep. I'm getting in my own way, and I go to someone else. So even if you need assistance to go deeper into those belief systems, because you wouldn't, you can't consciously comprehend what is going on inside of you until it is explored thoroughly, and it's all of that multi-layered stuff that lies beneath the surface.
and I always tell, it's like when my students come for the theta healing classes, there's like 16 of them, but you start at one and you slowly work up for whatever you want. Um, I tell each and every one of them that it this work is not for sissies.
Mm.
I really, really, really respect your courage into stepping into your gift and your healing.
Mm.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And everyone, regardless at what level we're doing it,
Mhm.
it's an ongoing thing. It's a daily practice, and some days it's a different practice.
Mm.
And that's okay too.
Absolutely. And one thing that I will say is, once once you've been doing it for a while, and once you've kind of shifted your perspective into just viewing the stuff that comes up in your daily life to give you those opportunities for exploration and release, um, it gets it changes, the process changes itself. So even now, when stuff comes up, not if, when stuff comes up, because it is that ongoing process, I'm in a different place. So my perception of it has shifted. So I don't dive all the way deeply into and kind of wallow there for very long. I have that part of me, because we are multidimensional beings. I've
Oh,
got that
yes.
aspect of me that's on board going, right, okay, you can have your little human moment, you can have your tantrum about it, that's fine. Are you done? Okay, this is what's going on. And so
Yeah.
I'm in that space where I can kind of see both sides, which shifts the experience of whatever the world is bringing, whatever your universal self is bringing to you for this uncovery event. And therefore it's not experienced in the same way. The challenges I find are not maybe as challenging as I would have perceived them to have been 10, 15 years ago.
You know, the things that I went through this past week, before it would have taken me weeks and weeks and weeks.
Yeah.
And it was one day with tears and vulnerability and all of those things and the grieving. And it's like, okay, the next day it was a shift.
Mm.
There was still a little residual, and then universe brought the resolution and said, there you go.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, wow, okay. Um, as has been said by many, many, many different um, light workers or any number of, I won't even put a label. The general thing that's going on right now is the planet is being infiltrated with light as it never has before.
Excuse me. Yeah.
So, what's happening is all of us have our little dark spaces or our shadow side.
Mm.
All of us that we've carried for millennia or whatever, they are being illuminated now
Mm.
to be healed and integrated into the light. And so all of these different timelines and things we may be coming up and going, oh my gosh, where'd that come from? They're just being brought up to the light to be healed and transformed.
Mm.
And once it's like anything for most of us, once we acknowledge it or we're acknowledged or we acknowledge ourselves,
Mm.
then it becomes a very neutral, gentle space.
Yeah.
It may even get some of us to giggle and go run outside like I'll do later and start weeding and looking at my plants and going, oh, and I'll probably have some supervision from the cats. They are the supervisors. So having the humor and knowing I may not be going and doing huge things, yet these little things and bringing in that joy
Mm.
and the gratitude that I can do this is huge.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And again, they're not huge things, and it doesn't have to be huge things.
Oh,
And that's one of the things that I actually love is, we've been taught to believe that healing, that health is a really complex thing,
doesn't have to
and
be.
it isn't. It doesn't have to be at all. It's it's bringing the simplicity back. But to bring the simplicity back means dropping out of our heads,
Yeah.
coming into the heart, expanding into that wider, deeper knowing,
Yeah.
um, and surrendering.
It is about knowing now.
Yeah,
Many of us are being given this is knowing. This isn't I think, this is knowing. Trust your knowing.
yeah, yeah.
Very important. And, it's one of the things people say, "Oh, I want an instant healing. I want a miracle." Okay, so we do some session work. I have some downloads done, and 2 minutes ago, they had no idea what it felt like to be loved unconditionally and to know that they were worthy, and they recheck, and they are. I said, "I don't know about you, but I consider that a miracle.
Mm,
I do."
yeah,
I'm looking for some sort of miracle, it's like I can go in the backyard and see a new blade of grass coming up, or a dragonfly,
Mm.
or one of the bees from the next door hive coming over and being on the rosemary plant and the flowers doing their thing, going, oh, or a new flower maybe coming up,
Mm.
or a hummingbird going by.
Yeah.
The miracles and that occur and that are present every single day when we shift our perspective are there for us to witness.
Absolutely. And I think, I mean, well, I know that is one of the key things with when I was gifted mundane to magical. It's kind of like shifting our perspective of the everyday life that we're living and have lived from that mundane hamster wheel kind of grayscale perspective into that technicolor magical perspective, because it's going on around us all the time, and it doesn't have to be this, blast of light, lightning bolt, da, 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 tubes going off. It is being able to connect with the miracles, to connect with the magic that is all
Yes,
around us, that we are living within and alongside in each moment, but being open to actually connect into it. I mean, we're just coming out of winter in the UK, and I live in the north of the UK, so the south may have it warmer than the north. But I went barefoot for the first time this year, and yes, it was cold, but it was amazing, and it was just the most beautiful thing to feel the dew on the grass soaking around my feet, and just to be connected, and just the absolute joy of being able to be barefoot. The fact that we've come out of winter, I mean, that to me, that's a magical moment, and we can have those magical moments every single day.
it has been we're went from spring to almost summer in the past 10 days. And now it's like summer weather, like in Fahrenheit, because I translate to Celsius, I'm out of practice, but last week it was in the 50s and 60s. Week before there was heavy rain. Today we're hitting 85 degrees.
Wow.
Like, so it's sort of like, okay, okay, I'm gonna get out there. I can be barefoot, and even in the winter here, I'm barefoot because it doesn't get that cold where I am. And my husband chases me around with the slippers. He'll grab my feet, say, Your feet are cold." I say, "No, they're fine. No, put these on." It's like, as soon as he leaves, I take them off. Um, because I'm a sassy child that I am. But it's just sort of, yeah, it is the miracle. It is feeling the ground under our feet. It is seeing a flower or something coming out in bud and watching the transformation of
Mm.
Mother Earth. When this comes out, I will be on a road trip for the first time. One of my I'm going to Bryce Canyon in Zion, and I don't know where else on a 2-week road trip just to go feel and everything else, just sort of like to disconnect from everything and then come back with I'm excited about the wisdom
Mm.
and insights that are going to be given to me on this trip. And it's like, yeah, I
Mm.
know this. I can feel it. I
Mm.
can feel it coming.
Yeah.
Like, oh, oh,
And again, when you're in that space, and I do believe that this is also part of healing and through the heart, you're connected. You're connected to the guidance, you're connected to the wisdom, you're connected to the messages. And the next step is taking action in alignment,
yeah,
and not needing to know why or where it's heading or what it's going to mean, just taking that jump, even if the jump is a teeny weeny one. Just feeling that drop in your heart and going, yeah, I'm going to do that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. A whole lot of new things will be coming in the
Mm.
near future for me. And I know that. Yet, really getting into the heart, really going, yeah,
Mm.
let's heal the hearts. That heals the planet.
Yeah.
for every single person that we can touch
Mm.
and bring that in, we've just done that thousandfold.
Yeah.
I mean, I specifically, which may not be apparent or easy to see, but this necklace
Mm.
is a boulder opal from Idaho that I got when I went to get my master's. And I bought just the rock and then did a wire wrap for it and said, this has all of those colors. It's part of earth. It brings in the light. Yeah, it's a beautiful reminder
Mm.
that everything is available.
Yeah.
And if we clear away the fears of why we stop it,
Mm.
we give ourselves such a beautiful gift.
Absolutely.
It's beyond expression.
Mm. Absolutely. I'm just aware of the time. I know that you are offering the audience very generously a 1 hour medical intuitive session for $80, where that is a 36% saving, because it would normally be $125. Could you just share what people might expect in a session? 'Cause we haven't really touched on what is a medical intuitive and what would people kind of expect to experience in a session with you.
Okay, so I will first and foremost pull away or eliminate the word expectation. The goal is, if you have a medical condition that's been going on, which will include, and many people have it, issues with anxiety. A good portion of society around the world has been thrown into PTSD, which will throw the body off. If you've been feeling a lot of depression, if there's conflict in your life that you really want to get through, yet you're not moving, those are things that we can work through. Find out why, how it's serving you to keep them. Let's shift that. Let's give you knowings of how to move forward or why you've stayed there and know that they're done. Everybody's going to be a little different. One of the key questions is, what is it in your life that you would like to change? What would you like to change? And then we go on, and there's quite a few downloads that are always given as appropriate for each person. Nothing is ever done without you giving a verbal yes. Free will is a sacred thing that is honored. I don't share any of this with anybody else. After the session, you can share it with somebody if you so desire. Uh, your choice. But as both a minister and working through this work, it is completely confidential. And it's done with a place of an open, loving heart, no judgment. No judgment. Each person's been through an experience, each one is unique. And so we focus on, although many of us have very many similar things, because we're all here. But yeah, at the very least, and a lot of things will shift gently. And it's always, that's one of the nice things about this work is that it is gentle. It is gentle.
I know
If
that
you
you're having your website redone, but I will put the contact details for people to be able to connect with you beneath this video when it goes out, and also on the SoundCloud, because I do an audio only recording and a video recording for each of the interviews. So if people are excited, want to get in touch with you, I will put your contact details there. Also, the details of the special offer of the 1 hour session will be found on the free gifts page, which is on the Mundane to Magical Living.com website. which all the links will go out on the emails and will be beneath the video and the audio replays as well. It's been an absolute joy connecting with you, and sharing this space and traveling through the different aspects and elements of the healing and the current energies, and how we can navigate with as much ease and grace as possible, and how we can come back into the balance and harmony that our bodies want to exist and reside within. Is there anything that you want to end on? Is there anything burning that we may not have discussed that you want to bring forth before we bring this conversation to a close?
I'm hearing from source pretty much everything covered. It's like we are complete. Such a joyful way to spend part of my Sunday morning with you. The only other thing I will say to people is that I will be on the road May 1st through the 14th. So you can send me emails or required for sessions. Something that's super important for me, because I'm in Pacific Standard Time, is that, we can do phone, we can do FaceTime, we can do Zoom, your choice. I need to know what time zone you're in with a clear contact phone number. And best times to reach you is usually really important.
Yeah.
After we've made our contact and set things up, I'm great with text, but phone calls, if I don't know who you, they're going to go straight to email. And for that time span that I'm on the road, I will have limited time. I will reply, just because it's joyful for me. It's part of what I love to do. So yeah, make sure that those contact information and time zone is really important.
Yeah, I'll put that in the when people purchase the special offer, I'll put it in the information that goes out so that they know to pop that information down. Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you so much. It's been absolutely lovely spending my
My
Sunday.
joy, my heart is filled. I've got little Buddha tears, as I call them, in my eyes from the places of tears of joy and gratitude. Thank you. Thank you.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I am going to connect with you and
It
have
would be my pleasure, my joy.
because I want to get to the bottom of this this physical symptom of anemia that has been kicking my butt since
A little bit more than that.
but yeah, I mean, I'm ready to clear it. So, and again, it comes down to that readiness and no judgment. I'm not judging myself, and nobody else should judge themselves for where they're at. We are where we are.
Serves a purpose for many of us for a while. And then once we realize what that purpose was and the opportunity of it's no longer necessary, and we dig around and clear that out, it's like, okay, awesome. Awesome. I love your body. Thank you for taking me on this amazing tour of the world and myself.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's really what this is all about. It's actually learning and coming back into that state of self-love. Many people have been able to love their higher selves, and they've been able to love the higher vibrational aspects of their multidimensional spectrum, but it's time to love the all of you, the lower aspects as well.
Oh yeah, they're coming up to be illuminated and to be transformed.
Absolutely, absolutely. And some reason grace is coming through, so the vibration of grace as well, and being graceful with ourselves.
Absolutely.
Learning what that vibration actually truly means, because again, just like love, it's
kind to ourselves.
yeah. Right, I'm going to end the recording. So this was the only pre-recorded interview on this series for season 9. Tomorrow we will be having a live interview, so I hope you can all join me then. I will be discussing the energies, but also working with the plant kingdom and the quantum intelligence of the plant kingdom with David Farrell tomorrow. And I look forward to sharing space with everybody then. So from me, much love to you all. Take care. Bye.